Hi, friends and new friends. You know, when you hang out on Twitter as often as I do, you're bound to run into a wide variety of people. And this is true in the cryptosphere as well. With the tribalism that goes on Twitter, you run into people often that don't want to hear anything about any other currency that they're not involved in. What they're involved in makes the perfect sense to them. That's the only one that they can see moving forward, and they don't want to hear anything about what you might be a part of. But every now and then you run into folks like Dave from TruthRadar.com, who's going to be on this episode today. He was perfectly willing to learn about Dash, and I was perfectly willing to learn about Bitcoin from him. So join us in this episode where we talk both Dash and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency topics. Hope you enjoy it. I'm Christopher Carruthers, also known as Tao of Satoshi, and you're watching Cash Alternative TV. So what is Cash Alternative TV other than that catchy jingle? Well, it's a show about cryptocurrency with a focus on Dash, which aims to be a digital cash for the world, an alternative to cash. If that's something that you're interested in, you want to learn more about Dash or just want to hang out with me some more, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss an episode. Now on to the subject of today's show. Well, as I said from the opening, this is going to be an interview with me and Dave from TruthRadar.com. He didn't want to be filmed on camera, but you can hear crystal clear audio. Hope you enjoy this episode. We're going to learn a lot about Bitcoin, and I'm going to teach a lot about Dash. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hey, how you doing today, man?
Very good, very good. So you're Dave from TruthRadar. I saw you on Twitter, and we got in touch, and we said, well, you used to be an investor in Dash. Well, it's not really an investor, but you used to have some Dash. And you have it on some treasure at this moment. So I wanted to talk to you about all about Bitcoin and Dash, because that's what we talk about here on this channel. So for my viewers that might not know who you are, that don't follow you on Twitter, can you give me a quick introduction of who you are and how you got into cryptocurrency?
So yeah, so if you go to my website, truthradar.com, I built that website to just kind of show the journey of where I started and as I go through, basically for new people. Kind of see new ways to get into Bitcoin. The topics I really care about from my website and that I tend to pay attention to is Bitcoin security, the future tech of Bitcoin, things like Lightning Network are things that I care about. And then just basically the use cases, how to use Bitcoin and how to advance it. So try to target a couple different areas that are interesting to me. And I would say tech. The tech side of it is very interesting to me. So that's really what I focus on my website. I'm not an early adopter. I got in 2017 is when I started, okay. And I'm just here. I'm here for the ride, essentially.
Perfect. Yeah, so like I said, my viewers are into cryptocurrency, and we're fans of Bitcoin here too. There's no Dash maximalism in this side. So we want to talk to you about what's going on with Bitcoin, and we want to educate you on what's going on with Dash, because you might not have heard of the technology improvements that we've done as far as technology and security go. So we're happy to have you on the show. I saw through Twitter, I saw your website, truthradar.com, and I clicked through to it, and I saw you had a video with a lady from the Malta Blockchain Conference. So can you describe what that experience was like and who that lady was you were talking to in the interview?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working with, it used to be called Malta Blockchain, but now it's called AIBC Summit in Malta. She's one of the media directors for it. And so I've been working with with that conference, been working with Istanbul's conference, a Washington blockchain conference, and another one out of Pittsburgh. So when I'm not doing Bitcoin marketing, whatnot, I'm also helping with conferences. So that's the other side of the thing that I do. And so she's one of the people that I work with and talk to from Malta.
All right. Have you been to other crypto conferences and around? Have you been to like Money 2020 or maybe like the North American Bitcoin Conference? Have you been to any of those?
I have not. I want to get to, my goal for this next year is to get to Malta or Miami. That's kind of my next, I feel like there's a really strong Bitcoin community in Miami. So if you heard of the Miami Blockchain Center,
Yes.
I've been following their tweets and their activity. It just seems like for some reason there seems to be a good incubator for crypto in Miami. So that's out of everywhere. That's probably my next target. I was invited to go to London in April. I might go to one there, but I'd say Miami, I think, is the next big one.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I think there's the few from what I've seen in Dash that we frequent. There's the Miami Bitcoin Conference. There's La BitConf, which is the Latin one in Latin America, and then there's like Money 2020 is a big one. And what's there's another one. Oh yeah, the one here in Canada, the Future Blockchain Conference, the one that I go to.
Futurist.
Futurist, yep. Yeah. Have you ever been to that one? Or no?
No, but you probably know some people up there that I know that are into
crypto.
Cool. Yeah, do you know a girl named do you know a girl named Justina? You probably met her.
I've probably met her before. If she's the one that hosts the event.
She does a bunch of interviews. Just Woman Blockchain. You can look her up on Twitter sometime. But she's from Canada. She goes to all the Canadian ones and does interviews companies. She'd probably be a good one to talk to as well. To talk to her about Dash too. Yeah, Woman Blockchain on Twitter. I did her up. She's really good people. We went to Malta together 2 years ago. That's how I met her. Yeah, we worked together in Malta. There was three Canadians and then me, like as an American. So there's 4 of us there that went the first year, and it was a good time. So.
Yeah, I think that's what cryptocurrency has, that power to bring us all together. You know, people that are interested in blockchain technology. There's people from all over the world, and people that, and it's funny because when you meet them, you feel like, oh, I've known this person my whole life because you have so much in common. You know, you could just talk for hours about blockchain technology because we're all so passionate about it and we all want to see it happen. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to somebody else in the crypto industry. But since you're the guest on this show on Cash Alternative TV, you win the coin toss. What shall we talk about first, Bitcoin or Dash?
I guess we could intro it to just the news right now. You know, Bitcoin's up. It took the dive below 10K, and then it pumped again. Now it's back. Now it's back over 10K again for the second time in 2 weeks. So I think the big story I think out there is across crypto is what's the bump for, and because the economy is booming, at least in the States where I'm from, and everything looks good economically. You know, why are people running to Bitcoin? You know, so I have a feeling. You know, I've only been in the space 3 years, but I have a feeling that there's more money coming in from outside of our little community. You know, we're only 20, 30 million people. You know, bunch of people. So I think the trend in 2020 is, I think big money is going to start playing the game. You know.
Yeah, I covered an interview with Kim.com and Tone Vays, and they were talking about how Bitcoin right now is just a bump on the log. Like, we're a little piece of shit, you know, in the general scheme of things, right? So like, there's so much more room for us to improve. But how much of the current price do you think is speculation, and how much do you think of it as utility of the current Bitcoin price of 10K?
I think, I guess a good indicator, you know, is that the market just reached $300 billion. Back in 17, I don't know when you got in, but I got in 17, and it was
I'm an old hat. I got in when Bitcoin was at around $300 in 2013. Okay. So yeah.
Well, I was just going to compare pricing. So in 17, it was the market cap went all the way up to 800 billion. We're only at 300 billion right now, so we're at a $500 billion, you know, less across the board, you know, as far as how much money has been injected. So a lot less money has been injected, even with the high this year of 10 something, whatever it is. We're still nowhere near 17, which was the biggest boom. So I'm agreeing with you. I think speculation is the big play right now. However, we're seeing different. So, for example, one of the talks I'm doing in Istanbul next week is on decentralized finance, right? So they just hit $1 billion, which, when you look at global liquidity, it's like $300 trillion or something. You know, $1 billion it's nothing. It's negligible.
Right. Yeah.
It's for 10 minutes.
It's weird to say that, but it's true. Yeah. $1 billion negligible, but you're right. Yeah, for sure.
So I think, and I agree with you on the speculative side, but I'm also very optimistic because I'm seeing institutional plays being made. They haven't put the money in, but I'm seeing the foundations being laid, and I don't think they're going to backtrack. I think it's forward progress. That's what my gut's telling me. There's not a lot of money on the table that's proving that, because I agree with you, it's very speculative, but my gut's telling me that they're about to make some plays in the next 12 to 18 months, you know?
Okay. Well, so you heard it here first, guys. This is not financial advice, though. If you're watching this and you're new to the crypto space, this is not financial advice. This is just one gentleman's opinion. So do your own due diligence and don't go in for higher than you can afford to lose. That's the big mantra in cryptocurrency. Because if you go in and something happens and the price crashes, then a lot of people out there are upset. So do your due diligence and get in for what you can afford. Would you agree with that advice, Dave?
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't only get what you can afford to buy. I'm just looking at. I don't really do price predictions personally. I look at trends. There's a guy named Gerald Celente. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He does trends analysis, and I think that it's more important for us to do that. Pomp does it a little bit too. Pomp talks about money a lot, but really what Pomp does is trends analysis. He's out there looking for triggers that show room for growth in the industry, as opposed to just saying like the price will be this. Like he's given price predictions, but I think what's more important, for example, a conglomerate of the largest banks in Germany just got together and said, hey, we're going all in on Bitcoin and blockchain. So Will that have a positive or a negative effect on Bitcoin and blockchain projects in Germany? The answer is positive. I mean, it has nothing to do with pricing. It just has to do with the trend. What is the trend? You know, that's my opinion.
All right. So before we get into talking about the Bitcoin and Dash specific questions, I got one more question for you about the nation state coins. You know, like there's rumors there that China is going to be coming out with their own nation technology, like their own yen cryptocurrency or whatever. And Canada is thinking of doing the same thing. US is thinking of doing the same thing. How do you think these nation state cryptocurrencies are going to fare next to the public blockchains like Dash and Bitcoin?
So this is also part of what I'm talking about next week too. So I've been doing a lot of homework on it.
Good.
So if you follow all the exchanges and do research, again, it's not about price. You do research. The trend for every top exchange on the planet right now is to build base pairs for stable coins. That's every single one of them is doing it. Like you can follow the Twitter feed of all of them. So what does that tell me? Okay, that tells me that what they're doing is that all the top exchanges anticipate that there's going to be base pairs for, right now there's, in order to put money into an exchange like Coinbase or whatever, you have to link a checking or savings account to that exchange to put money into it, for example, right? I think they anticipate that Canada or whoever else, the digital pairs are going to be created, and you really don't even have to. You really don't have to do anything other than to say, "Hey, guess what? We're now part of blockchain and crypto. Here's the Canadian, whatever the yuan or the whatever it is." I think it's just going to happen, and it's going to be a stable coin. That's what I think is happening. And then every country on earth is going to create this stable coin, and then they're going to try to compete with all of these markets that are being put out with all these cryptos. That's what I think will happen. Do I think that the dollar is going to go from just being the dollar and they're just going to throw all that money away and create a new dollar that's a stable coin? No, I think they're just going to transfer the liquidity and the value. It's probably going to happen overnight. You know what I mean? Like you'll just wake up and you'll be like, okay, we're using this digital currency called the dollar now. Yesterday we weren't. I still have this. I still have the same Visa card. My Visa card's the same. Nothing changed. The only difference is it's kind of like a system update or software update on an iPhone. That's what I think will probably happen. I don't know anything about this. It's the most logical step that they would do that. Because otherwise, what do you do with all the liquidity within the market? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with that? It doesn't.
No, I hear you.
You know, that's my thinking on that. I could be completely off base with that, but I just don't know how else they would do it without just tanking an economy. Like, look at Venezuela with the petro. They rolled out
that's an example. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the petro tried to roll out this currency that they were hoping that would make them rich again, and it just tanked the entire economy. I mean, that was a very. I'm not saying that's the only thing that tanked it. I'm just saying that the petro didn't help. I guess that's a better way of saying it.
No.
Like they thought it would. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of it's hard to just force something on your citizens that people have no idea what the heck is going on. Like to most people, most average people, blockchain technology is very intimidating. You got these long stringed addresses. You don't know where your money's going when you press send. For most people, it's going to be an intimidating experience to try to get into. They can't just force that on your citizens. You got to actually have this time to educate people on how to use it and what's actually happening. You can't just say, oh, I expect everyone to use it right away. Like I think the way they went about it was wrong. And I think the people, they're going to learn from that in the developed countries such as Canada and United States. If they're going to introduce this kind of technology, they're at least going to tell people how to use it first and what is going on behind the scenes. That would be, something that would be prudent in my eyes.
I just think it'll be, in my opinion, I can't remember what year it was, but there was a year where the stock market had an update and it transferred from an old system to a new system. Nobody knew that it happened. It just happened. Like the stock market, I can't remember, it was like a digital system. I forget the name, but it was like an upgrade and boom, you're still using the stock market. Nothing changed. It's just different. To me, like if I'm the Federal Reserve, and the Fed just came out saying some stuff too, actually, about this. I can't remember the exact quote. You can look it up later, but talking about how they were going to interact with digital currencies, how they're optimistic. And I honestly think they're sitting in a room saying, how do we just take what we currently have and make it to where it's compatible to this new economy so we don't lose our leverage or lose our edge against China? I think that's what they're trying to figure out, and it's probably a USD stablecoin, but to where we won't even notice it. I honestly don't think we'll notice when they change. I think we'll just wake up and it'll be different. Because think about it. Right now, you have a smartphone, right? I have a Samsung with Samsung Pay. I can pay with my checking account with my Samsung phone without knowing how my credit card or my bank account paid for that transaction. Samsung Pay does it without me thinking. I don't have to think about it. So why would it be so difficult for them to just say, okay, here's the new stable coin, it's USD. Everybody's using it now. I don't know. That's my take.
You will use it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's segue into Bitcoin specific topics. I'm assuming that you're a majority investor in Bitcoin, right? Like that's the main investment that you have, or do you have? Is it more stable with other currencies as well, or is that the main one?
I mine Bitcoin, and
you mine Bitcoin. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I'd say Bitcoin's definitely my preferred out there. I think. Okay. But I'm like one of the weird guys out there too. Like I believe, and I get a lot of crap for this. I truly believe that Bitcoin will be a transactional currency, not just a store of value. I'm one of the rare people that still hold that line. A lot of people don't. A lot of people give me shit about it because I say that, but I believe it will happen. I believe that right now, Bitcoin's doing like 400 something thousand transactions right now. So Visa is doing, millions and millions, right? So to get there, it takes technology to solve that problem. But I'm a believer that technology will solve the problem of speed as well as scalability. But like I said, I'm rare. Everybody else is saying an altcoin will fix the problem. you know.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's over something we're going to discuss today. So you're heavily involved in Bitcoin. Are you happy with the progress that Bitcoin's been making since you joined in 2017? Are you satisfied with its progress?
I would say yes, definitely satisfied. When you look at adoption, like you're an early adopter, you know, you got in. It was only a couple $100, and there's a chart that I put up sometimes that shows, you know, from the evolution of the beginning till really, in all honesty, 2016, 17 is when the boom happened until now. It hasn't slowed down. If you look at transactions, the amount of transactions Bitcoin is doing, and the amount of liquidity on the network, it hasn't stopped. So like the price is you know, if price went down 50%, there was a correction. However, the transactions are moving along like nothing's going on. So that's the second layer of information that every Bitcoin person doesn't pay attention to is how many transactions are going on, what kind of liquidity is happening every day, and the answer is it's moving along just as good today as it was a year ago. Less money in the
Okay.
market, but transactions are still moving. You know.
And we've been in a bear market all through 2018 and 2019, so that's pretty important to say as well.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at the transactions over the last 3 years, I'm not saying it's been as good as it's at the high. I'm just saying that it's chugging along. If it was a dead asset and a dead transactional currency, you would not see this many transactions and liquidity in the market, but it's still there, you know?
All right. So, what do you think about? You kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but we can delve into it a little bit deeper. What do you think of Bitcoin as the subject of its white paper, the Satoshi white paper, a peer-to-peer electronic cash? Do you think that it's holding true to this, or do you think that it's going more in the store of value realm?
I read something before from like an early chat talking about how Bitcoin has the ability to transact millions of transactions, right? So the question is, can it do that now? Yes, it can. It can 10x, 100x the transactions every year it's doing right now. If every other altcoin on the planet died tomorrow and all we had was Bitcoin, that is still a true statement. However, comma, can it do it fast? You know, can it do it? Can it do it? Can it do it in real time? Can it get the confirmations in a efficient manner? It's like there's almost two conversations. So yes, today it's working as a transactional currency, as a peer-to-peer on a peer-to-peer network is completely decentralized. Yes, 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 yes to all of those answers. Yes, it's electronic cash. I disagree with Roger Ver. However, it will take technology to solve the speed and efficiency problem. That Bitcoin, because it's 10 years old, it has that. I mean, it would be ignorant to say that that problem doesn't exist.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on the Lightning Network? Like, I'm actually going to learn from you as well because I'm heavily involved with Dash, so I know a lot about Dash. But when it comes to the Lightning Network, I've heard that it's been delayed. I don't know what kind of progress it's been making. So, could you speak to that a little bit for my viewers? What the Lightning Network is doing, and are you satisfied with its progress?
So, I mean, the word "satisfied" is a very complicated word. I mean,
True.
I look at there's a really good website to check out called DeFiPulse.com. Right now, Lightning Network is one of the fastest decentralized, not fastest. The value in decentralized finance, as far as transactions, has dominance with Lightning. However, it's nothing. It's like less than $10 million. Again, goes back to that word I used earlier, negligible. You know, $10 million means nothing, right? In the big scheme of things. So the problem we have with Lightning is it's a layer 2 solution. It's built on top of the Bitcoin software. So it is in beta test, you know, like right now. That's the reality. And when I spoke in Malta in last November, I had a debate against Libra, you know, and regular Bitcoin, and just talk about Lightning. And what I said was basically that it's a beta test. Lightning has not been proven. It's proof of concept right now at $10 million, being transacted. It's nothing. So this is the problem. Now the opportunity is, if Lightning Network is fixed and is brought to the market, they could do millions of transactions. That's the thing, is it can scale better than anything else that's on the market. It has the capability to do that. No other crypto right now can beat Lightning if they can fix some of the problems they have with the overall network. So it's a beta test. Any honest person, even the founders of Lightning Labs, would say that's the case. It's in beta.
Okay. So do you think that the goal of Lightning obviously is to make the Bitcoin transaction super fast, right? So, but like, also, what's the expense of security? Because I heard a story that somebody lost money on the Lightning Network. Has that money been recovered or no? Do you know?
I'm not 100% on that story. I don't know. I've used Lightning Network. I've sent transactions with Lightning. I have a Lightning wallet on my iWatch, and I send it back and forth all the time using it.
Oh, yeah.
So it works. I mean, I'm not saying that there. Again, it goes back to it's a solution on top of Bitcoin, but the beauty of it is, if they fix it, if they're able to fix all the bugs in it, all you will need is Bitcoin. Because Lightning is just a software solution to Bitcoin. That's all it is. It's built on top of the network. So if they can solve that problem, all you will need to have is Bitcoin and Lightning specific wallets integrated, and it solves that problem that I talked about earlier, where it takes too many confirmations in order to send a transaction. You don't have that problem with Lightning once they work out all the bugs and the network gets built out. But the smartest people in the world are throwing money into Lightning. So I don't think that they would do that if they don't think it's going to work.
Okay, so that's Bitcoin. I want to do a little segue question before I start talking about Dash, because you're about to get a truth raid when it comes to Dash, and you're probably going to want to buy some more when I'm done with you. But the question is okay. So there was a recent post in our Dash Pay and our BTC, and they were talking about why is Dash better than Bitcoin Cash, and why is Bitcoin Cash better than Dash? So the answer in Dash was a whole bunch of technological things. Why Dash, like what we've been up to in the last 3 years, and how this is going to turn us into a great peer-to-peer cash. And guess what the answer was in Bitcoin Cash? All they said was, we have a better network effect and brand recognition. So let me ask you, Dave, from Truth Raider, what do you think about that? What do you think is going to win over? Do you think it's going to be the coin that has the best network effect, or do you think the coin with better technology will be able to overcome that network effect in the future?
I think network effect is going to win. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I think Bitcoin will be around. Is when if someone says, "Hey, give me $5." Or give me 5 Bitcoin, people understand what Bitcoin is. They don't know anything about it, but they know that it has a value. So Bitcoin's already achieved the network effect. Some things that Roger Ver has done is he has successfully taken over some aspects of branding of Bitcoin. And that's why, like, if you look at Australia, they had like the #1, other than Bitcoin as a whole, I think Bitcoin Cash was the #1 transaction for a few months, like in crypto. Like it was on top of everything in the entire continent.
Yeah, I do. I remember that as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason he did that is Ver's running around telling everybody he's selling Bitcoin. People are like, "Oh, Bitcoin." So a lot of the newbies are going to join, and I'm a newbie too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that Bitcoin Cash, they're going to hear this guy say, "Hey, go buy Bitcoin." They're going to download the Bitcoin.com wallet, and that wallet is a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and then they're going to buy Bitcoin Cash. So he's got the game down to a science where he knows how to get customers from people that just want to buy regular Bitcoin, and he calls it Bitcoin Core. The guy's brilliant. He found a way to hijack an entire brand. And I'm not a Bitcoin Cash guy. I
No,
understand, I just see what he's doing. He's, you know.
And yeah, and in Dash we also tell him that we're like, you're very hung up on the Bitcoin brand name, because obviously the guy's got Bitcoin.com. Obviously he's not going to want to throw his support behind Dash, but Roger Ver actually does own Dash Masternodes. So there's a lot of competition out there for that mantle of being peer-to-peer cash, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over time, because you've got Bitcoin, that's the number one, it's the market leader and it's the originator, but it's kind of have problems technologically, in my opinion. And then you have Bitcoin Cash that's trying to do other things like bigger blocks and trying to be that mantle of peer-to-peer cash and taking the Bitcoin name and like usurping it. And then you've got coins like Dash that are just like awesome technologically, and it's like power packed. And you use Dash, it's just there's no experience, there's no comparison to other coins at this point, but we don't have that network effect yet. So every coin has its advantages and disadvantages. So this competition is definitely going to be an interesting one moving forward, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, there's every crypto that I remember. You probably remember this. Like a few years ago, everybody was competing about who has the fastest transactions per second, and there was a bunch of ones in China that were like HPV was one of them. There's a bunch of altcoins that claimed they had the fastest blockchain. Most of them have died out. I haven't heard of them again, but that, you know what I mean? So I think there's,
for sure.
But I don't think that's like, think about this. Bitcoin does 5 to 8 to 10 transactions per second right now, right? Which is very small. It's not a huge number, but somehow they're able to do more transactions than PayPal, right? Or Discover Card, and those are major corporations, and they're outperforming them with such a low transactional rate. So the question is, does Bitcoin really need to be in the millions of transactions and all that everybody's pitching? And I would argue, for it to succeed, probably not. It doesn't even have to be the number one crypto or number one world currency. It can be number 15 and still survive.
Oh, absolutely. So you're not a Bitcoin maximalist then? You think that there's room out there for more than one crypto? You're not of the Tone Vays kind of camp where he says there's only going to be one and there only can be one. You think that there could be more than one cryptocurrency out there that survives and actually becomes successful in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. I'm a firm believer. Tone Vays he's a firm believer in Bitcoin because he probably owns a shitload of it. He's
right.
probably loaded with Bitcoin, so he's in a position to say that I want nothing but Bitcoin, right? So I believe that Bitcoin will be the cryptocurrency used to transact. It will win. In 10 years from now, in 2030, I think it will be Bitcoin. That will be the currency everybody on Earth will be using on their phone, because technology will make it number one. It already has the network effect, already has the brand. Now the technology and the beta test of the last 10 years has to catch up. I believe it's going to be number one. That's a separate subject.
Okay.
So to me, that's only one side of the coin, though, right? Mm-hmm. That's that side. Part two to my comment is there will be other cryptos that succeed because the market has room for them. Going back to the original comment of there's $300 trillion worth of liquidity out there floating around. And the world stock market is $90 trillion. The value of all world stocks is $90 trillion. So it would be ignorant to believe that there's not room for other cryptos to soak up some of that money and to transform it and make it into digital assets. I believe that will happen. I just also believe that Bitcoin will be the number one 10 years from now. But of course, I'm not a maximalist in that sense. However, I do believe it's going to be the number one still in 10 years.
Okay, well, let's start talking about my cryptocurrency of choice, Dash. On Twitter, you told me that you have some in a Trezor. How did you acquire this Dash? Did you mine it or did you buy it from an exchange?
No, I don't know where I got it. I think it was an exchange. Somebody told me, I saw something saying it was fast and I wanted to test it out. So I don't even know how much I have. I have like maybe one Dash coin, something like that. But somebody told me it was fast. I've never used Dash, as I said in the tweet earlier. I've never transacted with Dash. I don't own a Dash wallet per se, other than the one that's in my Trezor. So
Okay.
I don't physically use it. So that's why I don't speak on it, is because if I don't know something, I tend to stray away from talking about it. You know, but
Okay. Well, I'm gonna
I
give
do own
you.
some.
Okay, well that's perfect. You are a member of Dash Nation then. I used to try to get people to say, welcome to Dash Nation. I'm saying it all the time in Twitter because that's the Dash community. So
Yeah.
you are, regardless of how small you are, you're still a member of Dash Nation. So what was your experience with it? Did you actually try to set an instant send transaction or no?
No, like I said, I've never had the reason to use it as a transactional. Um, I've never had a reason to transact with it other than to own it.
Okay, well, let me start off before I explain all the technology that Dash has. Are you aware that Coinbase, which is one of the biggest companies in the blockchain space, they consider Dash to be the most secure proof of work currency? They only require 2 confirmations for Dash to be deposited at Coinbase, whereas with Bitcoin, they require 3. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm aware that it's the other part I was heard is the master nodes too. They were one of the more efficient master nodes on the network. That I also heard that a lot of miners back in the day, I guess, got into Dash master nodes, and it was pretty lucrative. It was one of the top ones, I think, for a while, right?
Yeah, so I'll
Or
give you a
maybe
little.
still is.
I'll give you a little backstory about that and how the masternodes came into being. So at the beginning, Dash was just like Bitcoin. It was a proof of work currency. It just paid the miners, and the miners were the only ones that benefited from the network. But then after a while, Evan Duffield, who was the founder of Dash, he said that there are other places, like other entities in the blockchain network ecosystem that can benefit from this block reward. So originally we had miners, and then we started gradually splitting the rewards to the masternodes. And the reason why they split the rewards with the masternodes is because the masternodes, they enable Dash's functions on the network, such as instant send and private send. So the instant send is the instant transactions, and also it enables private send, which are the private transactions. Is privacy in the cryptocurrency important to you or no?
Um, I don't know. That's a tough question, because and that's something that actually with the Bitcoin originally, that again, read through some of the stuff Satoshi would talk about. He talked about privacy a lot, and one of the issues with Bitcoin is eventually the reason it's been private over the last 10 years is because nobody knows what the heck Bitcoin is. you know but
True,
but
true.
as
Yeah.
but as crypto gets more popular, it's going to be easier and easier to track as companies and governments learn how to use it. They'll it creates a record, so it'll make it easier to be tracked. So again, privacy coins, a lot of people talk about them, but I don't know. I don't think we're at that point yet where privacy matters yet.
Okay.
I'm all about privacy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that if it's not at that point, unless you live in a country where, like Venezuela or something, or somewhere where you're afraid that your bank account's going to be seized, but you're a Canadian, I'm an American.
Yep.
It's very rare for an American or a Canadian to have their finances seized unless there's
Mm-hmm.
something really crazy going on. So, yes, privacy matters, but I would say it depends on the situation and where you live.
Okay, so Dash has the mission to become an overall solid blockchain project. So we value speed, we value security, and we value privacy. So we don't think that people need privacy necessarily because they're criminals. It could be because we don't want people to know our finances, basically, right? Like you don't want to post your finances on your front door so everybody can see it, right? So like say if you do a transaction in Bitcoin and somebody knows your Bitcoin address, they can track you all the way back to your main account if they wanted to, if they had the technology to do so. I'm not saying that the average person is going to be able to do that, But that's why in Dash, we wanted to do the private send, which is the blockchain mixing. So some other cryptocurrencies such as Zcash and Monero, they'd have the cryptographic privacy. But that with Dash, it's kind of like a shell game. Your money is going to be mixed among everything else in plain sight. And so what that offers is you can have public, like you can have transparent transactions, which there's other use cases where you would need transparent transactions, such as like charities and governments spending and stuff like that. But there's also ones where you would need private. So in the Dash network, you have both. And that's what the one thing that Dash wants to have is an all-around stable cryptocurrency. So that's privacy. That's the privacy aspect. But we also started with the instant send, which is the instant transactions. So I'm just going to kind of go through what it was originally. So with instant send originally, you could do one transaction. It had 6 master nodes that had to verify this transaction. But the problem was when the person received it, they couldn't spend it again without having that 6 blockchain confirmations. So, and then they figured out a way around that. So I'm going to ask you again, like, what do you feel about speed? Speed is definitely something that needs to happen in a payment network, correct?
Yeah, that's why I say like things like Lightning will speed things up. I also like for speed, the best, I'd say the best crypto I've used for speed is probably Tron. They're the fastest one I've ever used. Theirs is lightning fast.
Okay, you need to download a Dash wallet, my friend.
Yeah.
Another thing is governance. What do you think about blockchain governance? Do you think that Bitcoin has the effective governance, or do you think it's just one group of people telling the currency where it's going to go?
When you talk about governance and centralization, again, that's where a lot of it's going to come from the layer 2, I think, as well. That's where, I mean, because you also have a problem with proof of work in general. Doesn't matter if it's Dash or whatever it is. You have an issue of dominance, right? So, for example, Litecoin, the people that own the most Litecoin is Coinbase. You know, they own like a shitload of Litecoin, right? Or when you talk about mining, the people that own the most, or the people that mine the most, it's just a couple of mining companies that control the way that whole thing works. So across the board, it doesn't matter. You can probably pick a Ripple, perfect example, XRP. They're billionaires They're selling off XRP on a monthly basis and buying like $300 million yachts to go hang out and have fun. Meanwhile, people think it's a good investment. So I think what you're saying is applicable to everybody. I don't think there's a crypto out there that is not susceptible to that problem right now. Bitcoin used to not be, but the miners kind of changed things, unfortunately. They changed the game when we went to ASICs miners. It became a different conversation, you know, basically.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge that viewpoint a little bit. In Dash, remember I mentioned that Evan Duffield created the master nodes, which received the rewards from the network for doing procedures for the network. Also, another thing that they need to do, like another one of their responsibilities, is blockchain voting. So we have governance proposals, and we also have finance treasury proposals. So anyone can approach the Dash network, and they can submit a proposal, either a governance or a funding proposal to the network, and the decentralized masternode owners vote on all of them. So this is something that's unique to Dash. We don't have, this is something that Dash actually founded. So we don't have this problem about going to Reddit and going to Twitter or going to wherever and trying to shout each other down, say, I'm more popular than you, so I think that we should do this. It's an actual blockchain vote that the masternodes go ahead and do. So we actually had this blockchain vote. It was the first one that we had to raise the block size from 1 megabyte to 2 megabytes. And remember how long it took Bitcoin to struggle with that ip? You know how long it took Dash? 24 hours. We had a blockchain masternode vote, and the masternodes voted, and they said, this is where we're going to go. So it went like that. The developers did it because they're legally obligated to through the Dash Investment Trust or Dash Irrevocable Trust. And then the miners signed off on it, and away we went. So, and it's been like that ever since, blockchain voting in the Dash with the Dash masternodes. So what do you think about that? I just challenged your viewpoint. You said that no cryptocurrencies had that, but we have it in Dash.
Well, like I said, I'm all for that. Tron is like that too. They have representatives that can vote to change things as well. So they have a very decentralized way of making changes. Yours, you said yours happens in 24 hours. Theirs probably doesn't happen as fast. Theirs is a little bit slower.
I'm not saying that it
go,
always happens. It doesn't always happen in 24 hours.
Yeah.
That was just the one that, because we were sure that we wanted to go to 2 megabyte blocks because it works for our network. But if we were like any other crypto, we would probably be like shouting at each other for a while, and some people would threaten to quit. But in Dash, if we have our vote, it's either put up or shut up. If you don't like it, just leave the currency, because that's the network has spoken, right? The decentralized, there's people from all over the world that own masternodes, and we all voted, and that's the result.
Yeah,
that's why.
You guys are you're very similar to Tron, actually. You guys have a lot of similarities. They have 27 SRs that are reps, basically, and it's similar. They have to vote in order to make changes, so you guys have a lot in common. Actually, Tron is, like I said, they're the fastest I've ever used. I've never used Dash to actually transact, so maybe you guys are pretty quick too. Bitcoin Cash is fast too. I've used Bitcoin Cash as a test. They're really fast. Tron is fast. Never used Ripple. So Litecoin is, I just don't like Litecoin, but that's just personal preference. So there's some fast ones out there.
I'm glad you brought up Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash seems to be confident with their zero confirmation transactions. And I don't think that that's really very secure. So like I said, Dash has the speed, we have the instant send, and we have the privacy with private send. And optional privacy, you can have both transparent and opaque transactions, like private transactions. And now we're going to go on to security. Bitcoin Cash uses a proof of work block, as does Dash, as does Bitcoin. But when you send a transaction with Dash, right away when you send it, it's locked by a quorum of masternodes. And what that does is it says that this input cannot be double spent by any other inputs. So if there's another attempt to try to spend that input, the masternodes have already signed the message that this input is the first one that's going to be the only one that's going to be accepted into the upcoming block. All right, that's step one. Step two is the proof of work block, similar to any other blockchain. It's going to include that transaction in the block, and then it's going to be put on the decentralized ledger. Okay, and then the third step after that is another quorum of masternodes that's going to lock that block. All right, so you got the transactions that have been locked, you got the actual block, and then you've got another quorum of masternodes that's going to lock that block and say this block is the only block that's going to be accepted at this chain height. There's not going to be any reorganizations at this chain height. So with other cryptocurrencies, you have only one level of protection. With Dash, you have three. It's triple protection against any kind of double spends or block reorganizations. So I don't think that you might have been aware of that either. Were you?
Well, I told you, I don't know very much about Dash aside from speed. That's really been the only, that's the only thing that really I'm tracking on Dash.
Okay, so that, as we mentioned off the top of when I was talking about Dash, Coinbase accepts Dash, and it also considers it to be the most secure proof of work currency, more than Bitcoin, more than Litecoin, more than any other coins that it has on his network. And the only problem that Dash has, like I mentioned off the top, is we don't have the network effect. So this is why I keep doing the shows with you, and I'm telling you what's going on with Dash, and you're probably thinking, well, I didn't even know that Dash was doing all this stuff. So I just wanted you to be aware of what was going on in Dash, and maybe you might want to get some more if you figure out, hey, maybe I might want to use some. Maybe you and I can send some transactions back and forth, and you can see how it's going. So I'm appreciating you coming on the show and letting me sell you on Dash, and hopefully I've told you everything that Dash represents.
So where's the most used? Where are people using Dash at? That's.
The question, that's a good question. Right now, there's a website called Discover Dash, and it has all the places that accept Dash around the world. The biggest place that accepts Dash right now is Venezuela. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier, that Venezuela has a very troubled economy, and they're open to new suggestions when it comes to a currency. So that's why there's a lot of accepting Dash with open arms and a lot of usage of Dash. And I'm happy that to say that we're making a lot of progress in that country. Maybe not as much as Bitcoin, but definitely on the level of Dash, like, because we're very small compared to Bitcoin, obviously, right? So any kind of solid improvement that we make in comparison to Bitcoin, because of our technology and the way our currency is so well-rounded, it's definitely a proud moment for us. So that's basically the number one place that Dash is being used right now, but it's also being used in other countries. And we're using our decentralized governance system and treasury to fund proposals that are going to get us more exposure in other areas. Our biggest contractor is the Dash Core Group, which it's the one who's charged for doing all the development in Dash. But we have other ones that actually are more marketing oriented and more business development oriented. So that's it's definitely an interesting ecosystem in Dash.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, do you have any other questions about it? And then before I let you go, because I don't want to give you too much information, you're going to get bored. But yeah, definitely something to look into if you haven't looked into it previously.
No, definitely. I'll definitely take a look. I'm open-minded. Like I said, right now I'm mainly focused on Bitcoin, but there's a few alts that I'm staring at right now. And the two currencies I use the most right now are Bitcoin and Tron. I use Bitcoin because it's the easiest. Everyone knows it, and then I use Tron because it's the fastest. That's really the way. That's really what I use right now.
Okay, so do me a favor, Dave from TruthRaider.com. I'm happy to have you on the show. When we get off this show, at some point in the next maybe 24 to 48 hours, download a Dash wallet. Download the Dash wallet for Android. It's version 6.6.4. And provide me with your address, and I will send you a Dash, and you can send it back to me. You can send that very same input back to me without any confirmations whatsoever, because of chain locks and chained instant send. So you'll be able to see Dash in action, and you can tell me if Tron is still the fastest one, because I bet we're going to give it a run for its money.
Yeah, definitely. I'll test to check it out.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say before we let you go? This has been a great interview. I've been happy to have you on the show.
No, I'm glad to see different perspectives, man. Because as you know, Twitter's kind of an echo chamber. With tribes.
Absolutely.
Tribalistic. Absolutely.
I hear that. I see that all the time, and that's definitely a topic for another show, is the tribalism. But at Cash Alternative TV, I want to listen to all viewpoints as well. I'm not here to tell you that Dash is better, although I clearly think it is. But I'm not going to try to force that down. I'm not going to try to force that down your throat. I respect that coming from a position in Bitcoin, and I want to hear about all kinds of technologies. That's what we're here about in Cash Alternative TV. We're a show of cryptocurrency, but we're focused on Dash, and that's what we're doing. So thanks very much for being on the show, and good luck in your travels, and I wish you well in your future conferences.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye for now.
See you.
So that was my interview with Dave from TruthRaider.com. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and click the bell if you want to see more from me in Cash Alternative TV episodes. Until next time, remember, Dash is a better money for a better future, and that future is getting closer every day. Bye for now.